stream is cleared for takeoff.
Hello everybody and a warm welcome into the Microsoft Flight Simulator channel for our developer showcase live stream of the Synaptic Simulation and iniBuilds Airbus A220 Airliner. My name is Chewy. I'm one of the community managers here at Microsoft Flight Simulator. We really appreciate you all taking time out of your day to watch the live stream this evening. We know there's an important sporting event many Brits like myself are watching on a second monitor right now, so thank you. Joining me today for this A220 showcase, we have three special guests. Firstly, Steve, Head of Community and QA at iniBuilds. Steve, welcome.
Hey, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. And hey, go England.
We also have Harsh, Project Manager and Art at Synaptic Simulations as well. Welcome, Harsh.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Brilliant to have you here. Last but not least, we have Shay, Systems Programmer at Synaptic Simulations as well. Welcome in, Shay.
Hello.
Amazing. So let's jump into it straight away, I think, because we can see there's many of you here who are super excited to see more about this aircraft. So for our first portion of this showcase, Steve will be doing an external walk around of the Airbus A220 before heading inside the cabin for a first look. So Steve, I'm going to hand it straight over to you. Go ahead.
I'm going to take it away. Here we are. Here is our A220 on the ramp at Zurich. We chose to do a short flight today from Zurich to Innsbruck, get you some really beautiful scenery and kind of kick the tires on this thing and show you what it can do. But I'm going to take you on an external walk around. iniBuilds was responsible for, primarily responsible, but in concert with Synaptic for the external modeling and a lot of the art aspects. So I want to show you what we got. Let's walk over here and give you a good insight. Just external dimensions. This is such a beautiful aircraft. Just its form makes it look really, really graceful. So we're pretty proud of that. And obviously you can get super close and see the definition in the springs, the linkages, all the decals. We've got this stuff going on that, you know, we're just really proud of our team. Walk over here. Let's give ourselves, if you want to service the oxygen panel, you can open that. If you want to plug in the GPU, you'll probably hear it here just come to life. So now we've powered the aircraft. We want to let the sounds of the ramp fill. It won't talk too much, but we are going to come over here to the Pratt & Whitney engine and pop open the cowling. So you'll see those little latches on the bottom. You can go in there, see what they do to service. Look at these hoses, just super excited. It's amazing what we can do in 2024 with respect to its modular system.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're super proud. So you can open up this fueling panel. Oh, no, wrong side. Jumping the gun. I gave away too much. But as many of our recent planes have, we've got a bunch of panels that you can interact with. There's so many down here, I gotta find which ones are actually active because I ran through this before. Continue to walk along the aircraft. What I love back here is you want to look at the engine in the back, pop open that door, and there you go. You got the APU fully modeled.
Finding my house turning my head to get the angles is it's almost like my point of view as you're doing these to get a look at the angles.
Yeah, I do that sometimes when I'm walking around. I'm like, oh, let me look over here. I'm a big proponent of virtual reality, and a lot of times I do the walk around in VR because it's really cool to just feel like you're there and you capture a true sense of scale of how big these things can get and how big they feel. Because, you know, when you look at it as a passenger from the terminal, it's like, it's obviously a plane, but it just doesn't feel like it's huge. And then you get down here like, whoa, this is big. So here's some more of that really amazing gear modeling, you know, each hose linked up, braided. Let's walk
all these
under
were
here.
done with a lot of references. And, careful with the detail for all the exterior parts. Yeah, including the cabin and the cockpit, which obviously will be showcased very shortly.
And you might have noticed that that aileron was not open in the door while the elevators were, which is actually a quirk of the 220. The spoilers and ailerons are using different hydraulic actuators and data grouped. Only the elevators do. So if you ever walk by a 220, look out for that.
Yeah,
No
so you don't
droops.
droop like an Airbus.
But it says Airbus in the title.
Well, which is kind of the theme of this whole aircraft. Like, it's not really an Airbus, and we're going to find out a lot about that.
So we'll walk over here to this fuel panel. This is really cool. Close that, and then come over here and blow out our ears, and then we'll go into the cabin and show you some of that. So pop in there real quick.
Guys, thank you for we see your comments about the audio levels. So just a quick interjection there. We will make sure that we adjust microphones as needed. So don't worry if anybody's a little bit low on volume. We'll get that fixed in a second.
I'll make sure to project my voice too, because sometimes I...
You're fine, Steve. You're good. I think you're good.
Downscale. All right, cool. So fully modeled galley rather. Look into the cockpit. Look at that. That's just a work of art. I'm really impressed. And then we're going to walk back in the cabin. And one of the cool things that we did here is if you need to load your overhead bags, you can do it on every single one. I'm not going to open every overhead, but rest assured, all the way back, you can do that.
Flight attendant simulator, is this what's going to happen?
That's right. There's always space for your bags. No gate checks here. Let's pull this window down too. That way the person in 1F doesn't get the sun on their eyes. I know a favorite feature of a lot of our aircrafts is fully modeled lavatories. We spared no expense here. If you want to look in there, if you're one of those guys, boom, good to go. So let's walk back. One of the other cool things that we implemented on 220 is tray tables come down every seat. So you can fully model being a passenger. And for those of you that have loaded passengers, you'll be able to do that. So I'm going to quickly go back here and show you my favorite feature of the 220. I know that not every real world operator has this. So for those of you that are going to say, Swiss doesn't do this, in the lavatory, there is a full window. So you can be in there watching the world go by as you take care of business. And we did model the differential animations for those doors. That's true to life. Full galley back here. Open that door if you want to load catering or load from the back, and that's pretty much it. So we're really proud of what we've done here, and we're excited that Synaptic brought us in to sort of
you can also show the
this
emergency
cabin
doors
to life
open as well.
They do. I was gonna work my way up there. I'm moving a little slow. So
whilst you're moving your way up there, I've got a couple of questions from the chat. So Amada asks, does the cabin lighting change and get darker when all the windows are closed? That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think ambient-wise, yes, it will. Let me open this door. So yeah, you can do that if you want some real fun in flights. I gotta find the click spot. Hang on, there it is. All right.
Awesome.
We do have integrated cabin lighting that can change color depending on. It's an EFB option that you can toggle. So.
And another
yeah,
question
and I
is,
mean,
will there be different cabin configs for different airlines, or is this the cabin config that we've got for everybody?
This is the primary cabin configuration that we've got based on most airframes in use. I know that there's a couple special ones out there. I don't know if our plan is to examine that in the future. On release, this is what you'll have.
Yeah, we'll have
and that's
seat configurations later down after release as well.
That's the fun stuff, and so I'm gonna toss it back to you guys. But thanks for letting me take you through the art modeling.
Steve, awesome. Thank you very much indeed for letting us have a look at the externals there and a bit through the cabin as well. We know there's lots of questions on various different topics. There's a lot of you in the chat right now, so please bear with us if we don't get to your question or we can't answer it right now. Please forgive us. It's incredible that there's over 2,000 of you watching the live stream right now. So thanks again for everybody who's tuning in. We greatly all do appreciate it. We all know that even though it's great to see the aircraft on the ground and see what it's looking like with the external view, these things really come to life when they're in the air. So we're actually going to be performing our first ever full flight with this one. So Harsh and Shay are going to be putting it through its paces with a Swiss flight, I believe, from Zurich to Innsbruck, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to hand it over to you guys to show us what it's like in the flight deck.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you so much, Matt. So welcome to the flight deck of the Synaptic A220. So we're going to do a very quick hop from Zurich here over to Innsbruck. So let's get started by setting up the plane over to the overhead panel. turning on the batteries, and you can see the plane does its little startup here. You missed the FCP displays flashing, so they flash and they display the numbers when they come on. And I'm going to go over to the EFB and get the external power connected. So if I go here to ground equipment, I can attach the chocks and the GPU and back up, and we can see external power is available. So we can also adjust the brightness of these Cori switch lights. We could go to bright and store, as you can see, that modulates the brightness there. So let's click avail and use, and the aircraft is now receiving AC power. So
as you can see, only the first two DU started because that's what's connected to the essential buses on the batteries. Now that we have external power, the other three will then slowly, as they do their self-checks and boot ups, they will slowly come alive. And the displays will automatically reconfigure themselves.
yeah, as you can see, it says FMS 1 fail because FMS is not initialized yet as part of the startup process, and FMS map is also unavailable. Same with the engine D rate numbers as well. All right, so I'm going to put the checklist on a DU2, and as you can see, we have non-normal, normal, and procedure checklist per airline implemented. So let's go to the normal checklist. So power on, we've done most of this. ECL on DU2 is complete. Hydraulic 3A, 3B, and 2B on auto. So that's done, and APU external power as required. So we can mark that complete. Let's go down here, pre-flight. First flight of the day, we could do most of these. I think we're fine. So on board, yeah. Check all of that. All that's good to go. Altimeter. So I'm going to set that with the SimBind. There you go, altimeter set. We're going to set that over to HPA because we are in Europe. Sorry guys, just speeding through here because we do want to get this flight underway as it's very exciting. So all that is checked, complete, and we'll get to the before start checklist before we're ready to start and push. So now I'm going to replace that with the FMS, and we have fully integrated SimBrief uplink both within the aircraft itself and on the EFB. So on the EFB, I'm going to go to my flight. This EFB was done by iniBuilds, so some of the UI is very similar to what you guys might be already used to. So once that's done, I'm going to go over to the load sheet. Since we're in Europe, let's change the weight to kilograms. So I can go in here and change the units from imperial to metric. Do that, load sheet and SimBrief import. And as you can see, it autofills the required values right away. So we're going to click load aircraft. I just saw it settle down a bit as we got a little heavier. I can do flight plan uplink for the FMS and uplink pending, uplink complete. So one thing about the 220 is like, oh, you just did the uplink. Where's my values? There's nothing in origin, nothing in destination. So this goes straight to your secondary flight plan. And as you can see, if you see on the map, this will switch over to secondary once I do that. And you can see our flight plan that's drawn in blue here. So you're going to have to do your configuration in secondary, and you can activate to move it back to your actual flight plan. Now that's white and purple as intended. So departures, so we're going to depart out of runway 34 through the Digga 5 Foxtrot departure, and we're going to do arrival RNAV Zulu 08. So it's a really fun RNAV into Laui. You guys are going to see how well the plane does on it, and transition, and
over there you can also see the arrival data. So as it's a barrel approach, so it's going to be
down here you can see where it says Barrow RNP AR. I can choose a different approach, and that'll go away. And if it's a visual approach, we can adjust the path angle leading down to the runway, etc. So all these menus are very dynamic depending on the arrival that you're choosing. So RNAV Zulu 8, and you can see arrival data as well. You confirm that the approach mode is RNP AR with the different information pertaining to the runway and the approach itself. So execute that. I did mean to do the element transition, so let's modify that. That's good. Over to route, let's just do a bit of maintenance cleanup here. So just gonna delete this. So what you can do is, obviously you can interact with the FMS and the other screens through the MKP, the scratch pad down here, and you can manipulate the values on the screens. You can also press a keybind on your screen, which then can be set in your EFB. So mine's set to control right now. So if I press control, you'll see a circle pop around my cursor. I have keyboard inputs. I can type in whatever I want, for example. So which makes setting up much faster. So let's pop back delete here. Let's delete this waypoint, delete the discontinuity here, and we'll delete that one as well. And then Amazing.
We've got a good few questions coming in from the chat, so folks, I'll ask them as I can do. A couple of questions pertaining to uplinking and things and integration with things. So one question that's come through is Hoppy integration, Hoppy for CPDLC. Is that planned or is that possible right now?
Shay, I'll let you take that one.
So one of our developers, Mike, is working on FSDLP, which is a new standard that we're working on with networks, say intentions, VATSIM, IPAO, and that is what we're going to implement post-release, because Hoppy is kind of old and clunky and really hard to work with, right? So when that's out, we'll be integrating that, but on release we will not have Hoppy.
Cool. And then functionality with GSX as well. Obviously, you had the uplink with the fuel and the weights there and everything. Any integration planned with GSX? As we know, that's a popular add-on for lots of PC users.
I think we will have GSX by default. I think we have a config already.
Yeah,
built.
we do have GSX already made.
Yep.
So I can open up the VST here, and as you can see on the map, we don't really have any path being drawn here. That's because our performance data is still missing. So as you can see, we have an FMS message that says performance init invalid. So gonna hop back over, go to flight plan, fuel, and we're gonna input our values that we see from our EFBs. So zero fuel weight of 51.737, or I could just type 51,737, and our CG is 25.3. And we can go over to sensed and exec. And you will see the values pop up as it does the calculations. There we go. That's good. And if we go back to our map, you will see that it now draws a VSD. So, sure, you want to talk a little more about the VSD while I do the performance setup?
Yeah, sure. So we've got full LNAV, VNAV. It will calculate using your weight, winds, everything. If you uplink the winds, it'll calculate your full vertical path up to your cruise, straight line to the cruise, and then, unlike other Airbuses, the 220 does not have performance-based VNAV. So you select a vertical path angle down, and it will just use that number all the way down to the runway. So it's completely configurable by the pilot. You can calculate what you will need, and it will obviously handle all constraints correctly, but it does not have any sort of cost index or flight idle-based descent modes.
Amazing. All right, so let's go to our performance here. So iniBuilds has integrated takeoff performance within the EFB. So we're able to sync our FMS data. So it knows exactly what airport and runway we're departing out of, sync weather, and then we can calculate our config. So we're doing a D rate of TO -2, rotation speed 133, flaps 2, and we're gonna go send to FMS, and you can see it autofill in our FMS performance page. So one thing I really like about the 220 is you can basically have the screens configured any way you want. So for example, let's say I don't want the ICAS here, I want it on the other side. I can go down to the pedestal, display norm, reverse, and swap. I'm gonna swap it over to the right side, and then I can select a new format here. So I can then put the map here, and it's easier basically when I flight plan. I can just look at the route side by side, which it's very handy. So back to performance, and you can see our values are inputted here. Set view speeds complete. That's on our PFD now. We're going to do bleed source on engine for takeoff. We're not doing a no bleed takeoff. Calculates your trim accordingly from your CG 4.3. We're going to do nose down 4.3. So, you know, unlike a conventional 320, 330, 350, this aircraft does have speed trim, so you will have to trim it during flight, which I will demonstrate later on in the stream. So departure profile and ADP, which basically lets you choose your thrust reduction altitude. As you can see, when amber here, as one of our constraints does say we have to be there at 3,500, but we're just making it with NADP, so we're going to go back to standard. That should resolve itself. If you press the toggle button, it can be either toggled from behind the throttle, bound to one of your peripherals, or at through the screw on the MCP, we can press toga, and that arms your takeoff pitch markers and your takeoff modes. So I can do VNAV, nav, we can move this over to FMS speed, and we can do an altitude of, since we are not controlled for this flight, we will do straight up to cruise at 17,000. So, okay, that's good. Clear the FMS message. And yeah, we have all the other pages implemented. You can check your IRS position, etc. I can also search for airports. I can look at the different runways and localized waypoints for the airport that I'm departing out of. So if I do LSZH, put that in there, I'm able to get data for all these airports, define pilot waypoints, etc. So we'll talk a little more about that after we take off. So let's go to the CNS page, which is a radio page. Set up our TCAS, traffic on. Let's do flight ID Synaptic 001, which is a call sign you guys might recognize from VATSIM. So that's set. Let's go over to the map. Let's do traffic and terrain. So we do have a custom 3D terrain map, as you can see here, which is a very nice feature of the Airbus A220. We can force plan mode to see the true terrain value without seeing the proximity coloring. So yeah, it's something a work of art. Shay, you can talk a bit more about that as well if people are worried about how it works.
Yeah, so that's an external process because there are the A220 map is sort of different in the way it's actually projected onto the displays. It uses an azimuthal equidistant projection, which the sim does not exactly support yet. So, and it's obviously a very high detailed map that requires like a custom GPU renderer. So for the performance, we decided that it would be better to run it externally.
I see lots of comments from folks. We realize that you folks are excited to learn more about this aircraft and go into more depth with details on this. As the iniBuilds account has just mentioned in the chat as well, there's going to be a deep dive video on this aircraft that gets released before the aircraft launches. We know lots of people are going to be asking questions about launch date, release information. That's not information that we're going to be providing on today's live stream, but just keep an eye out on the iniBuilds, Synaptic Simulations, and MSFS socials for more information about releases and launches of the aircraft. So even if it seems like we're going through things really quickly now, believe me, when you hear this aircraft start up and some of the spool sounds that are going to come through, you'll realize why we want to get through this section of the flight quickly and get ourselves in the air. So if it does seem quick right now, it's just because we want to get this beautiful bird airborne so you can hear and see it in the skies.
Thanks for clarifying that. So yeah, on the overhead, I just did a bit of basic setup, armed the emergency lights as it was flashing on the ICAS, doing our before start checklist here, making sure our APU is starting up. So if I go into status on the Synaptic page, you'll see our APU is now ramping up and it says APU and start. So once APU's started up, we'll switch it over from external power, push back, and get underway. So so we have full Navigraph integration as well. So we're flying this with Navigraph charts. So as we taxi out, I can also refer to the Navigraph charts right on the screens themselves. So I can either have it popped up here, or I could have it popped up here as well. Like I said, the 220 is very modular in the way it does things. I could have a full chart map. I could do airport info or like the RNAV departure I want to do with your live aircraft tracking. So more on that in the video that we'll make. All right, so seatbelt signs are on. Obviously, this reflects up in the cabin as well, which is pretty cool. Let's turn on our beacon lights. APU is on, should be good. Logo lights on. Back to our checklist here. So that's as required. Parking brake as required as well. Okay, let's pre-plan our pushback.
Let's switch off the external power first.
Yeah, before we start pushing, it's probably a good thing to do. There you go. Parking brake is verified on, so we could move the... All right. So the thing that the iniBuilds team has done is when you turn on the beacon light, it automatically disconnects your chocks and your GPU, which is great. Saves you a couple extra steps. So pre-planned pushback. Let's push onto the active taxiway here. Amazing. Right, that's good to go. Let's get this set up the way I want. Back on FMS perf. And all right, focus pushback. And we're off. So one thing you guys will notice is the 220's engines take a while to start up. So Shay, you want to talk about the motoring times and those details?
Yeah, so the Pratt & Whitney 1500Gs, which are in the 220, they have a very unusual start sequence where, as you can see, it's going to motor at around 10 to 12% N2 for about 45 seconds. Sort of cool down the engine and make sure that everything is lubricated because of the gears of the fan. It runs through, gets everything lubricated, everything cooled down, 45 seconds before it then starts ramping up and injecting fuel. So because of this, the aircraft takes a very, very long time to start the engines. Each engine takes about 1 minute and about 45 to 52 seconds. And then, while technically you can start both of them at the same time, Most operators do not have that in their SOP yet because it's a very new feature in the roleplane. So you're going to be waiting there for 4 minutes.
Yeah, and you guys might notice it's pretty quiet right now. So the motoring time is pretty quiet, but once we have the fuel injected, you will hear the quiet rumble. This very well insulated cabin, and obviously when we do the spool up, you guys are going to hear the very iconic A220 howl.
I think we can go back to the wing and hear it start up.
I think in a bit. Once the N1 goes up a bit, we should. Right now, I don't think we're going to hear much, as it is a very quiet plane. Everything else is good on the overhead. Just going to wait for the awkwardly long engine start. So yeah, around 4 minutes total for both engines, considering each one takes about like 1:40 seconds.
And so with these engines, is it an auto start procedure? So the pilot's really just monitoring things. If there's any sort of failure with the engines, they'll also shut down and deal with those things itself.
Yep, exactly. The A220 will actually, if there is a failure, will actually attempt to restart itself once automatically. So basically, you're just watching it. You do nothing. As long as you have, bleed and fuel, you just flip the switch and the engine will just start up completely on its own.
And is there any difference between whether you is it an SOP thing between airlines as to whether you start engine 1 or 2 first? Is there a preferred one that you start, or is it always number 2 first and then number 1?
It's completely up to airline. We have had pilots say, "Oh, you're supposed to start 1," and then another pilot comes and tells us, "Oh, it's actually 2," and then we realize, oh, everyone does it differently.
And some of the faults that you guys see pop up here is it happens randomly, but it is true to the aircraft. So Shay, you can talk about that as well.
Yeah. So depending on how the engines are configured and how the the number of AC sources. So for example, if you have, there's hydraulic 3A, 3B, and 2B, which are motor pumps. And if you're on only one generator, then one of them must be load shed if you have all of them running. So in those cases, there are times where you might have a fail message. It's not actually failed, it's just been load shed. And other things like that. Same thing with the PTO. As the engine starts, you'll see things will slowly start clearing up.
Amazing. Ramping up to 25%, 26% N2, and there we go. Our EGT is rising. Fuel is being introduced. In the meantime, I could set auto brake RTO. Let's do our before taxi checklist. So back on the checklist. For taxi, APU.
You can see the summary page will highlight just the ones that are relevant to your current phase of flight. But because we're on the ground, it'll show us before taxi and all of that. As soon as we take off, it'll start showing us.
Yeah, so as we turn off the APU, one thing you guys will notice when you see the deep dive video and also when you get the aircraft in your hands is the APU door still stays open a bit as it cools down and then will close and the RPM will ramp down. So NTI is set to auto, weather's just fine. Flap should be selected for flaps 2. We'll do that once the second engine is live, which it is now. So oops, parking brake, forgot to set that, started rolling on idle thrust.
Yeah, that's
okay.
We've all done that. Everybody here has done that.
Yeah.
The plane loves to roll. If your parking brakes are off and you just forget, it will start just going.
So flap selected, as you can see, that's transitioning on the ICAS there. Flight controls, you will check that. So over to the flight control page. So I'll take flight control. So full deflection. So if I test that at the wing itself, and you guys can kind of see the detail in the spoilers there, which I think people noticed in our server, so that's pretty cool. So all that's good. No steer is selected on. ICAS info checked. All that's complete. Amazing. So let's do our before takeoff now as well, because the runway is basically right here. APU bleed as required. So open our perf page. So as I said before, you can pop open anything on any screen. So our that's good. Flap 2, trim set, flap set, NTI set, auto brake is required. Thrust checked, runway is confirmed. We're going to take off 34, and cabin should be ready. We'll just cycle that. There we go. All right. So all that's good. I can make this a full screen map, get a nice big window going on there, or I could pop the ICAS right back over. And this is a very conventional setup. So I'll have the checklist down here. Okay, amazing. All right, let's get going, guys. So we're going to release a parking brake and just show you some of the sounds we got going on here. Yeah, it's a very iconic sound. the 220.
There we go. I already see people reacting in the chat.
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
sound. So
exactly.
that's got a great reaction. See, I told you, folks. I told you that's why we were going through the setup quickly to get those sounds going for you all.
Absolutely.
Stick with us here. Stick with
So
us.
I don't have a tiller axis on my harbor, so I did disconnect the pedals, which you can do on top of the tiller in the cockpit. So yeah, that sound never gets old.
Yeah, when we were at Expo, we were just
Yeah,
on
that's
the
all we did.
speakers.
We just went back and forth on the throttles for fun.
yeah, and then everyone was like, "Huh, what's that?" And then they came over and they're like, "Oh, funny."
And while we're taxi, I mean, do you want to talk about that? Because the howl is so distinctive, and I know you folks have put a lot of effort into the spool times and everything, and how they're dynamic. So do you want to speak a little bit to to the sounds, how you recorded them, what that process was like for you folks to try and capture that element of this aircraft?
Yep. So we worked with Tyler from Echo 19 on them, and we put a lot of effort into getting like the resonance of the howl and like all of that. So the systems actually simulate the howl internally, right? So it's all procedural based on your spool times. If you, for example, if you're doing an APU bleed takeoff, the engines take much longer to spool up because of the reduced idle thrust, and so when you do that, it'll take longer to spool up, and you will have a long, drawn out, very resonant howl. Whereas right now, because we're doing an engine start, it will be slightly less. Obviously, it's going to howl, but it's not going to be as crazy. And yeah, so there's a lot of things that go into making that howl.
There's a lot of
right?
fun and complex things about this plane, but that sound is a kicker. So, so I love it. All right, so as we're lining up on the runway here, I did make sure all our external lights are turned on for takeoff. So that should be good to go. And as we line up on the runway, we're going to press our AT button to arm the auto throttle. So it's not like a 320 or conventional Airbus where you have different detents for the takeoff thrust. You bring it up to, I think, Shay, it's about like 70% N1, and the throttle will start moving on its own to set the desired D rate. So
Yep.
just slow down
So
here.
you arm the auto throttle, it will drop in white with thrust mode armed.
There we go. Flashes
go.
5 times on the PFD, and as we spool up and the throttle takes over, you'll see what it does. All right, so we're ready for takeoff. So let's get out of here. So turn on the range a bit.
Let's-
We'll see how the plane flies at departure.
And we'll also turn off the tiller.
Yeah, good call.
Yep. Ready? We've got FMS1 armed, VALT S armed. So that's
There we go.
means it's
Throttle's
gonna-
taken over.
Yep. As you
Sure,
can
you want to
see-
talk about TLLS? So
Yeah, so
this
as you can see,
little-
that little white bar there is the FADEC limiting the thrust before at like at low speeds. That's TLLS, it's thrust limitation at low speeds. Basically, it limits thrust so that because the engines are underneath the wing, if they're at max thrust, then you're actually pushing the nose up. And to prevent that, both the elevators, like automatically, the elevators will go down, push the nose down, and you will have thrust limitation. So you don't lose effectiveness of nose wheel steering at low speeds, where the rudder is also.
Nice and easy rotation. Very easy on the controls for this plane. So flying it up to the pitch rider markers, and there you go. FMS1 is taken over. So now we have LNAV guidance. As we reach our acceleration altitude for the engines, it will switch from VTO to VFLC, which is basically VNAV, handling flight level change. So as you guys can see, we do have this little blue bug on the PFD. That's my speed trim. So as I trim down, the nose is going to naturally go down. The plane basically trims for the speed. Doesn't really trim for pitch. So it is a speed stable aircraft, similar to like a 787, but we actually see the trim indication on the PFD there. So I'm gonna turn on the autopilot, let the plane fly this departure. And show you want to talk about these leg types here and how they're drawn?
Yeah, so another quirk of the 220 is that unlike other Airbuses and Boeings, it doesn't actually draw the smooth path the aircraft is going to fly. The actual path that it draws is very different to what it actually flies. As you can see, there we have an overfly at the H570, and then we have a CF leg into the next waypoint, and then a direct to leg. So depending on the leg type, it draws these intercept arrows saying that it's going to turn left to capture that line, or it's going to turn straight, and etc. etc.
So a
And obviously
320 would just draw the curve straight up, but the
Yep.
220 tells you what it's gonna fly. So, so the path drawing is a little more primitive considering how advanced this plane is.
But it flies it as you would expect it to.
Yeah, of course.
We had a question in the chat earlier on, and I think this is something that a lot of people mistake. Is somebody said, "Hey, I'm familiar with flying the Airbus A320. You know, it's a common aircraft that lots of people fly. how much work is it going to take for me to learn this aircraft because it's an Airbus? But really, it's incredibly different from an A320 in many different aspects. So whilst, you know, airliner knowledge in general of an A320 might be useful, I feel like the specifics of an A220 are very different. So, I mean, any words on that, on the differences between the two?
So I would
Go
say
ahead.
the differences between the two are more like, what are the similarities between the two? Because there's nothing. Like, because it started as the C series, it started as a Bombardier plane, right? So completely different philosophies. Like, for example, the speed trim we were talking about, you don't fly the plane like a 320. Like, if you in a 320, if you pull up, it'll just hold that pitch forever. But in a 220, that control has been modified so that your speed is an input. So as long as you're perfectly maintaining your trim speed, the aircraft will hold that forever. But if you slightly trim up to increase the speed, then it will slowly pitch the nose down to attain that speed, just like, you know, a more conventional aircraft would, because you trim for speed, right? It's just that you actually see the speed over there on the pitch tape, or the speed tape rather.
As you can see, as it sequences the next waypoint, it does flash on the PFD and the ND to let you know its intention. Next one's an overfly as well, as you can see, very similar to the previous one. Shay, do you want to check what the transition altitude here is?
It should be set by default, I think. If you go to the climb page,
It's 18,000. It should be, I think, 7,000.
possibly. Just check your chart. You have it right there.
Yeah, that's a good call. So over to data, departure.
There we go. Right load, so we can see. 1,000.
I think this is really
7,000.
cool, like how the like you can just customize whatever you want on the displays. I imagine there's like I think you mentioned it earlier, like a conventional setup for a lot of these displays, but it very much seems like it's modular in the sense of you can pretty much put whatever you want wherever you want it on the displays to help you out as needed in different scenarios.
Yep. So usually you would have the DU3, which is the one just right of the center. You would have a big map over there, right? You have more situational awareness. Then you can have, again, it depends on airline. Every airline has their own thing, because like, and it's a common theme of the thing. Every airline has slightly different SOP. So yeah, you can have your checklist on one at the bottom. You can have your chart.
It is just such
yeah,
a unique looking plane. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
I was lucky enough to fly on an A220 about 4 years ago, and one thing that I really noticed as a passenger was, number one, how comfortable it was to fly on, but also just how huge the windows are in the cabin. There's just, I don't know what it is about the windows, but yeah, that was one of the design decisions made originally, as you mentioned, when it was with Bombardier and the C series aircraft. But it was super comfortable to fly on, and it looks like an absolute joy to fly as well.
Yep, absolutely. You know, on the FMS, we have the buy to page where you could modify some of the things here, and we have pause report page, which basically tells you, it gives you deeper insights in the legs page as to for all your future and present legs. Flight log.
I think
talks.
our missed approach ended up before the approach.
Oh.
The RTT.
Should I just switch it around? Just delete
You can
this,
just
right?
delete it, yeah. So the via 2 page is another good way to figure out if the plane's doing the right thing. As you can see, we can delete that.
Let's make it that. Yeah, select
Oh,
that.
there we go. Select the constraint that we want, and we'll
Look
set
at-
up.
Yeah, so, and also, let's talk about graphical flight planning. So, we're not going to make any changes on the active flight plan. So, I'm going to get the full map over here for us to explore while we're in cruise. So, let's go over to the full map and turn on terrain. That'll be fun. Okay, so let's go into plan mode, and I can, let's say I want to take a detour. Maybe ATC told me to do something. I can click a waypoint here, do insert after.
I mean, we don't want to. Let's say we
Yeah.
don't want to go to Degas, right?
Yeah, or that, you know, let me show them this first. So
Yeah.
you can insert custom waypoints. I can do one like maybe over there. After this, like you can modify the route to your heart's content, or you can cancel that. We could do, let's say I want to go straight to Degas. I don't want to go through the FMS. I could do direct to, scroll down, find it. Where is it? Did I miss it?
Way above.
There it is. Amazing. So that's done. I can do
You can
direct
see
to
it's
Degas,
drawing a.
direct to line.
Yeah, but it's like slowly updating as your aircraft flies to tell you what it's actually going to turn.
Yeah, so that's very cool. You know, it's very unconventional to have a hold at Degas, but let's say I want to have a hold there, I can press hold, and then that draws the hold right there automatically. Pan around that, look at that. Go back to the hold for that or cancel it. If you want to modify parameters, that's a call for us reaching 17K. So, you know, I could put in like a better speed, best speed for this whole 212, and that modifies the size of that. I could do L here to make it go on the left side. So, you know, it's a very, very advanced plane in a lot of ways, and what you can do on the screen.
And it makes flying on Wasm just so much easier.
You know, I could put like a radial here. I could go fixed
Everything
page
for
to,
you.
let's say, a 5 mile. I mean, not really sure what I'm going to do with that. And then you see this little fix here. I can click on this in the actual fix page. So I can go to the FMS here, open fix, and fix 01 with the reference to Degas. I can insert this as an actual waypoint because that intersects with the path. So very, very cool stuff.
Yeah, so this is for custom waypoints. So, you know, for a user case example here, you know, on a realistic network like VATSIM, you might go, hey, reach this altitude 5 miles before this waypoint or something. So you might need to create yourself a custom waypoint. So
Yep.
I think this is a great user case example of how you can easily enter a fix in there, enter in your custom waypoint and put the altitude restriction in. So
You can
even
also
though it
show the
might look-
crossing dialog. First.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So it makes it really easy to insert like custom.
Yeah, so
constraints.
like within the waypoint shade.
Yeah, like
So
you just go
let's
crossing.
say, you know, I get an instruction saying, you know, Synaptic 001, maintain, let's say 10,000 by this waypoint. I can go here, go into crossing, and I can do at, above, below, or in between, and I could do, you know, let's say 15,000. And that will automatically update. So if I open the VSD a little further here, so we have a constraint here. Obviously, we're still meeting it because we're above 15,000. So you can obviously place constraints during descent as well. If you wanted to descend, if I want to be, 7,000 here, maybe TOD will move forward all the way over here. So it's very, very intuitive and very easy to make changes to your flight plan on the Synaptic A220.
Awesome. I mean, I remember seeing this aircraft just over a year ago myself, and it's amazing to see the amount of work that you've all put into this aircraft with the system depth and everything in the last year. But I'm sure there's lots of people who are in the chat who are familiar with this project. How long have you been working on the A220 now?
So technically, we've been working.
Well,
on
technically, the project's been around for, I would say, like 4 or 5 years. But really, in the past 2 years, when it became payware, our focus changed to put more time to this aircraft and give it like a more serious level of detail and attention to detail. So a lot of things were rewritten. The model was built from ground up once again. Shay and Mike did an excellent job rewriting a lot of the systems to be up to scratch and
like for
match-
example,
yeah.
the electrical system, we completely ripped it to shreds, made it completely new.
Yeah,
so
let's
now
talk
we have
about that. So let's go over to the circuit breakers here. So right now, I don't know why it says our battery chargers are out. So that's tripped. Let's say I want to go over to, let's say, I want to kill the
It might have
entire
been to
pressure
the
monitoring system.
external power when you turn on the beacon.
Yeah,
it might
yeah,
have been
yeah.
when you turned on the beacon, the external
Yeah,
power
yeah.
got tripped. So we had like a current spike.
So if I go into, let's say, status here, right now our tire pressure monitoring system is active. So I could go into system, I could go down to, let's say, landing gear, go all the way down. I'm going to pull out our TPMU, CBs, and that goes amber. Like that, that's gone. I can, kill the BDCUs, and I'll have like a gear fail.
There we
There you
go.
go.
No
Brake
temperature.
fail. We have no
Brake
brakes
fail.
now. If I go into alternate brake, I can. Oh, that's also failed, right? Because it's part of the same
Yeah.
system. Yeah. So pop that back in. You will then see it will say alternate brake on, so I can turn that off. Let's say I want to go reversions on the display. Let's say I want to. What happens when our screen with our ICAS fails? You always have to have an ICAS on your display. So let's say I scroll. Oh, that's range, not that. Where's brightness?
All the way on the
Oh,
right.
yeah, there we go. Don't really find the FO side. So there we go. After a second or two, the ICAS will pop up on this side. Let's say I'm going to kill this one as well.
And you can also
Say-
see it says display rev misconfig there because you wanted to
Now
swap.
the PFD has been condensed on the left side. So let's say I want to kill that as well. Let's hope we don't break the plane doing this.
It would be a pretty bad day out if all of this was going to go wrong, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so now we still have the same level of information. I would argue this has more information than a 320 still being displayed to you on just 2 displays because of how it's able to like condense information for you. So it is, it's amazing when it comes to reversion. So let's put everything back up because I think we're going to need it. So
Well, we don't need it, but it's nice to see. Like,
Nice
yeah,
to
more
have.
things.
It would help. Another question that's just coming in, folks. There's questions flying in left, right, and center. So if we're not able to answer your question today, we do apologize. But there's going to be loads more information given your way in the next coming weeks or so. So stick around because there's more to come after this developer live stream, which we know you're all excited for. First one that I'll just mention quickly here is somebody asked about the steep approach mode, which, if my research is correct, is only available on the A220-100, correct? And at the moment, we're modeling the -300 variant. Is that right?
Also correct. You're 100% correct. Yep.
The 100 and the Airbus A220 ACJ will arrive as a separate product after the 300. They will bring improvements such as we'll have a fully modeled avionics bay where you can pop out circuit breakers. So you know how you saw the battery chargers tripped? These ones are physical. They're actually down there under the cockpit and behind the.
So like for example, there are like if it says LCBP over there and RCBP, those are actual physical breakers in the cockpit. You can like turn around and show them.
Yeah, so we can go to the back of the cockpit. There's very minimal circuit breakers in the cockpit. Like the wall isn't plastered with CBs. It's only a selection on the left and right side here. So, same thing that we did, like, let's say pop out this display, I can pop a CD for that, and that's gone. Things like that. I can kill the CTP, and I actually lost guidance because CTP on this side is responsible for guidance. So I'm back on heading, and B now is now amber. Should probably pop that back on because it's pretty important. Let's go back there, and it's back. So let's go back onto B nav. And
armor nav again.
There we go. We're back. Good thing we didn't do that, as we were close to TOD. That'd be messy because this is a very steep approach into Innsbruck.
So unlike a lot of aircraft, and I guess more retro airliners where you would have walls of circuit breakers, it looks like there's only a few small panels and then a lot more of the circuit breakers are handled first in the displays. Is that correct?
Yes. Correct. So there's in the avionics bay there are these things called the CDCs, the control and distribution cabinets, which basically are huge computers that have control as well as circuit breaker control. Like they're these SSPCs where they run logic as well. They cut power. So like for example, your anti-ice is controlled by logic in these, and it powers the valve to open it, and depowers the valve to close it, as well as if the valve uses too much current or you need to pull it out, you can just pull it out. So it's not just a circuit breaker. There's also, like when it's in, there's also logic depending on aircraft state and inputs and which state, that all of that runs in the background, controlling things. Awesome. Same thing for lights, for example.
Yeah. And a couple more questions that have come through. Does the A220 have synthetic vision on the PFD? Is that a feature?
No.
It does not. And what about a HUD as well, heads-up display? Is that something that's in the works?
Yes, that's going to come with the 100.
Yeah. And it'll be added to 300 as well.
Awesome.
The HUD is actually a requirement for steep approach.
Got it. Perfect. There we go. Cool. Any more questions that you folks see come up in the chat? I know we're rattling through things nice and quickly here as we continue on our flight in the A220. Once again, we do appreciate all of you taking time out of your day to watch in. If you've got any questions in the chat, please keep them coming in. We'll try and answer any ones that we can do. We know there's lots more information that you folks want to hear about. So stick around. We've still got lots more to show off today. And hopefully a fun approach into Innsbruck. Harsh, I've got to ask you before we go back and think about more systems and things. Are you nervous about landing on live stream into Innsbruck? How are you feeling?
There's more people than I'd like to not be nervous, but I think we'll do a good job.
Awesome.
Just let the plane land itself.
Yeah.
Well, it's an RNAV.
It is an RNAV, so it's not going to land itself. It's not.
It'll kick you out at 50 feet, and then it's like, yeah, go flare it.
Yeah.
And another common question that I've seen, which I'm pretty sure information is already out there on this one, but just to clarify it here on the live stream as well, simulators that this is going to be available for, both MSFS 2020 and 2024?
Yes, so it's a little unconventional because we started development on 2020, so we're still supporting our existing potential customer base on 2020, and it will be coming to 2024 as well with the 2024 improvements, like we have the walk around mode, but art-wise, systems-wise, everything will be the same. We still have the cabin on the 2020, train maps on 2020, and as well as all the other systems we showcase as well. So feature parity is very similar.
Awesome.
And we're going to be
so as you can see, we have fully functioning VNAV here. We're going to see our TOD being drawn. So right now our orals for that is constantly beeping. So what I can do is I can go into checklist I can go into proc, and let's go to, let's say, oral warnings field. I'm going to just inhibit that because it's being annoying. There, it's gone. So that's done.
It also says check alt cell over there because we're still at 17,000 and our TOD is super,
So
super
got to
close.
reset our alt cell. It's like a Boeing. It's going to automatically take us down.
Although, while it does, most airlines have SOP that you want to start descending early because the engines and auto throttles on the 220 are really quite slow. So if you're cruising up high, you really want to start, let's say, we go at 500, 600 vertical speed
so
right
as
now.
you can see, I've started it off a little bit here on the vertical speed, and VPath will take over as we're flying down.
It will take a bit because there is a 20-second timeout. So if you ever put any manual input, it will wait for 20 seconds before VPath will then take over. Because otherwise, if you want to override it, then there we go.
There you go. VPath is now active.
And as you can see, what I was talking about with the auto throttles being really slow, it goes down, but it's still speeding up quite quickly as they slowly come back. And it's also a pretty steep approach and a
so we just,
very
you can
slick.
see as it kicks in and out of guidance, which is very characteristic of the 220. The VNav on descent is just, the less said about it, the better.
And that's a characteristic of the real aircraft, just to confirm, not
absolutely.
something with the model in the sim, right?
So there's all sorts of fun things. So for example, you know how the lines that we were talking about doesn't draw the curve it's going to follow, right? It will fly. It'll, like, if you have an overfly waypoint, it won't, a flyover waypoint, it won't overfly it. It will always turn correctly and rejoin the line. But that extra distance you lost over there, it is not accounted for VNav, for example. So if you have a very sharp turn, that will actually just cause your VPath to suddenly just jump below or above you based on where it is.
Right, so
and I think we should
let's set our minimums and get set up.
probably get on approach mode as well, because I think
let's arm approach, because the final approach fix for this rival is actually right there.
Right there.
So let's go set our minimums, which is 2900 on Arrow. So FP, PFD nav, set that over to 2900.
As you can see, VGP is now armed. And so as soon as we get near to the FAF, there we go. VGP is taken over.
And so VGP stands for, is that VNav glide path, I guess, in essence? Is that what the acronym is for that? Yeah.
Yep. Now it's going to basically ignore the altitude constraint and your altitude selector, right?
It will follow this aggressively, regardless of what you're doing. So I'm
so it will prioritize that and basically ignore the speed. So then you have to.
So that's just VNav in the 220.
Yeah.
No matter what you're doing, if you're in VNav like VPath, VGP, it does not care about your speed. It's solely path based, and speed is basically the pilot's problem.
All right, perf page on arrival. So we can verify our arrival data here. Approach mode is RNP AR. So we can set our flaps. We'll do flap 5 because it's a short runway. And one thing about the 220 is if you're flying it with auto thrust up until touchdown, you do want to add some extra speed to your VREF, so +5, just to account for this discrepancy. Sometimes the engines don't spool quite as fast as you might want it to maintain that speed, so we go a little higher than we want. So set V speeds complete, so that's in. Once we pass decel here, our approach speeds will be active, and we can just knock our flaps down sequentially, and auto throttle will take care of the rest.
And we want to be careful on our spoilers as well.
Yeah,
for the same
so
reason.
let's go to max, because our vertical guide path has shifted down.
That's another thing with the 220 is that we'll recompute whenever you make changes to the flight plan, it'll recompute your path, and that may lead to weird things in this case. There we go, we're approaching decel. Any moment now. There we go. And the FMS is targeting F1, which is our flap retract extension speed. And another quirk about the thing is that, as you can see, it's saying 220, even though the max flap speed is 230. And that's because it doesn't actually take much into account while calculating those either. So, which is why for the first flap extension, the SOP is then, it's either green dot, which is that, it's either green dot or F1, that is the lowest allowable speed. And you want to basically target that before you raise your flaps.
A couple of questions that I'm seeing as well, just whilst we've got a spare second. You've shown some Navigraph support with the charts. Will there also be Lido chart integration with the native charts?
In 24, they will be, yes.
There you go. So there you go. So if you're on MSFS 2024, you've obviously got those free Lido charts that come with the simulator. They'll also be integrated as a choice as well. Right, it's
Kinda
almost
hear
time,
the-
Harsh. Are you prepared for this, for this approach? Are you feeling good?
You'll see it all happens very quickly on this approach.
I'm excited. I'm excited to watch this.
You should probably
Might
get
go
your flaps
nonverbal for a
down.
second. All right, flaps down, and you guys can see the spoilers readjust for drag on the wing when the flaps come out, which is very cool to see.
Yep.
Amazing. All right.
Landing gear maybe because it's
Yeah, let's put the
steep.
gear down. We could use all the drag we could get. So back to the checklist, right? So let's do so descent and approach, FMS minimum set, auto brakes out. The gear sound is very loud in the cockpit, which is very true to the real thing.
Your auto brake is not actually set.
Yeah, there you go. Medium. Altimeter set. We'll get to flap 5 before touchdown, so that's no problem. I think we're pretty well configured for this actually. We still have like 15 miles to go, so it's not a problem. Let's put that on full screen. Let's go to flap 4. Flap 3 rather.
So with speed brakes, is that all automatic? Do you need to arm anything because you would do in the Airbus?
You don't need to
or-
arm it for touchdown. You just put it all the way back to retract it, and it will, when it's weight on wheels, on touchdown, it will automatically spin.
It's actually something interesting. It doesn't have to use wheel because it uses the wheel spin. It actually is. If
Oh,
you're
really?
going above 30 knots on the wheel spin, that it'll arm those and they will come out until you cross over 60 knots. So if
And
you're
so it
if you're
automatically retract as well once
Yep.
once you've slowed down.
Oh, it's got some brain here.
so nice. Probably don't need them. I don't think the
Not that much, at least.
Yeah.
Looks pretty cool though.
Okay, let's probably get our flaps. Oh. VRF is still.
Yeah, so let's
20
go
knots.
down to flaps 5. So as we approach this peak here, you will see the runway as we have to turn left. And you can see the terrain map update the proximity colors as we descend.
And let's say that slowly.
Landing
kind of-
elevation here is 1910, which is pretty close to the 1957 reported by the FMS for the runway altitude.
So that's another thing the FMS uses is not the actual constraint of your runway, but the airport altitude. So if your airport is not flat, like over here, where it's in a valley in the mountainous terrain, you will get a different value for your RNAV approach minimum.
Okay, we can put our spoilers in. Don't really need them
I should
anymore,
probably do that.
and don't gotta worry about them until after touchdown. Actually, no, they automatically stow at 15 knots, so we have to worry about them ever. So it's pretty cool. Some lights in here. It's kind of
And so is it an auto thrust in landing or is that pilot choice as well?
it's up to pilot choice. You can manually, use the throttle like a Boeing, like you could disconnect the auto throttle and fly it yourself, or you can be like me and keep it on because I'm more worried about landing the plane this time. So
A lot of pilots do prefer turning it off because, again, as I was saying, the auto throttle is quite slow. As you can see, it went
kind of
underneath.
under, and you can see it slowly spooling up to match the target, which is characteristic of the real plane.
So like if it's in gusty conditions, most pilots would just never keep it on. Some pilots just never keep it on in general. Like we have one of our pilots said, I haven't done an auto throttle landing in the last 2 years. So it's basically just whatever you want, really.
All right then, folks. Well, here we go. No pressure, Harsh. There's only 2,100 or so people watching your landing on the live stream. All of your hard work over the many years comes down to.
Oh,
this
we
point.
grew.
I'm joking. Right, here we go.
We
then,
grew.
folks.
All right, let's do it.
Right, wish him luck, everybody. Let's have some well wishes for the landing into Innsbruck. We'll let Harsh take it away for the final approach.
Yeah, just gonna disconnect once it makes its turn, so we could get the last bit of autopilot showcase in, and then it's up to me.
I mean, yeah, it's
So,
an RF. You should always be.
Yeah,
on dead
always
for
watching
them.
RF. Look at how good it tracks the curve here. Down to 2 miles, which is the lowest you can go on the map pertaining to the path. It's gonna fly that textbook. Pretty confident will. I'll set the alt selector down even more actually. It's gotta keep
I mean,
going.
it doesn't matter, right? It's
Yeah, yeah, it's VGP. Yep.
You should be on your missed approach.
There we go.
altitude.
It's perfectly tracking it. What's the RNP deviation here, Shay? It's like
Like for the aircraft or the
Yeah.
approach. The approach is 0.3.
0.3, yeah.
As you can
Alright.
see.
We're gonna disconnect the autopilot. Let's go. Actually, let me turn on the orals because I want to hear the sound. So very annoying 320-esque sound. So let's do that. hand fly is very soft, very easy on the controls. It's gonna be definitely gonna be a change from the aircraft you guys are used to flying.
Yeah, it's like, especially in roll, like the aircraft will target 20 degrees a second for max roll rate, and it will do it.
Before touchdown, talk about the wing loading and what it's gonna do once it touchdown.
You mean spoilers? Or
Yeah.
So when you touch down, you don't have just the 4 multifunction spoilers. You also have the ground spoilers. And the thing with the aircraft is that when those come up, they basically kill all the lift on the wing. So as soon as you touch down, the spoilers go up. You'll see it kind of like settle into the landing gear even further. And because you've lost all lift, the nose also comes down really quick. So a lot of the times you have to apply a lot of back force to keep it up. And, well, we'll see it. The landing.
We'll take that.
Very nice.
Here we go. Reversers are spooling up. And you
Reverse
also see
green.
that the aircraft will automatically, once you get below a certain speed, which is 55 knots, it will just disable reversers.
Pressure's off now. You can relax the shoulders. Everybody's saying butter in the chat. I saw some predictions for landing rates as well. Yeah, well done.
Amazing,
Yeah, Innsbruck is not one for the faint of heart as well. It's not exactly the longest
Yeah.
runway. It looks like it's got really great deceleration rate. I mean, it's just made the runway.
Well, I went
Innsbruck,
max
which is
reverse,
what-
right? So
Yeah, I mean, it's 1,800 meter runway, but I mean, it made mincemeat of that.
yeah.
Also, not very heavy. The
Yeah.
aircraft is also a smaller aircraft, it's not a 320, right?
Yeah.
So weight-wise,
Yeah.
it's much lighter. And because it was a flap 5 landing, we're also a lot slower than you would be.
Let's do this turn here. So back to the tiller. Let's get that nose wheel going. Yeah, I'll take that. I'm very happy with that. So let's do it.
And so is flap 4 the normal, unless you're under certain conditions, is flap 4 the normal landing configuration for this aircraft?
Technically, yes, but then again, as is usual, it's up to the pilots.
Yeah.
There's some that do 50-50, some that do flap 4 and flap 5 only if you need performance. It basically depends on what you feel. Okay, but if you care about fuel use, then flap 4 is the more efficient way to land.
Awesome. Folks, just as another little caveat here, we didn't mention it at the start of the live stream, but as I'm sure you're all completely familiar with, this is a pre-release version of this aircraft at the moment. So absolutely anything and everything that you see on this live stream is all subject to change. So if you folks are noticing something and you go, oh, maybe that might need a little bit of tweaking, or I wonder if they're going to work on this element of the aircraft, there's still things that are being worked on in the run-up to release for this aircraft as well. So it's all subject to change in here. I'm sure Harsh, Shay, and the team are abundantly familiar with lots of the things that they're still working on to get sharp and release ready for everybody. We know you're all excited for that one. So just a little caveat there that if you do see anything, you've got any feedback on those things, this isn't the final version just yet.
Amazing. So we'll just quickly taxi over to the gate, quick power off, and then, yeah.
Completely
Amazing.
do.
So folks, just whilst we taxi in and everything, just because we've sped through this nice and quickly, we will try and get through some of the questions that we've got. We're not going to be able to spend a tremendous amount of time going through things, but if there are any more questions on the systems of the aircraft, any integration questions specifically for the A220 that you'd like, now is the time to ask them, and we'll see if we can get through some of them. Again, no promises we'll be able to answer all of them. I've seen a couple of people asking about functionality with like peripherals. We know how popular lots of peripherals are, like with FCU units and everything like that. Any plans to open up those variables and allow people to be able to use different pieces of software and different hardware so that they can customize autopilot panels and things?
So for autopilot and similar, we have most of our variables opened up, right? Like you can search for them, you can set them. We use a lot of the in-sim key events, as you would expect, right? Like your speed, altitude, etc., heading, nav, all of that. So you can expect if you use those by default, then most of it will actually work. Otherwise, I'm sure you'll have profiles for most other hardware.
Yeah, I can
Out there.
take that. I've actually, for a lot of testing, I've used most of the key events with the wind control, FCU, and MCU, what I could program. And then there's some third-party applications where you can set custom profiles that I've been able to do the entire MCDU so that I can physically input things into the keypad. So I know that that functionality exists currently. I'm sure it'll be refined, and once this thing releases and we can get in with partners, we'll probably explore having some more native functionality.
Awesome. Another question, will there be a paint kit available for community painters on release? I'm sure there'll be a huge amount of liveries already available. There's already been some great screenshots of some of the liveries that you're bringing, but will there be a paint kit available for the community?
Absolutely, yeah. There will be.
Awesome.
All right, let's stop over here. Amazing. So our APU is on. As you guys can see, the APU door is open at the back. Quick cleanup here. Let's turn off our lights. Beacon off. Let's turn off the engines.
And the fun thing about that APU door is it does actually create drag and cause the plane to yaw a bit. So if you have it open in flight, you might need to give it a little bit of rudder trim to fly straight.
Turn up the... Amazing. So we're down. Open up the ECL once again. Let's do a quick after landing checklist. Flap 0 complete. Shut down. And nose steer off. And APU extra power is required. Slides disarm checked. And that's complete. All right, Matt, back over to you.
Brilliant. Oh, amazing. Have you guys got time just for a couple more questions? There's been so
Absolutely.
many that's come through today. So let's see if I can grab a few more. We've had Trait come in. Hello, Trait. Good to see you here. Asking about cabin announcement integration and also OANS as well. How about those two?
So I can talk about the OANS, and I think Steve can talk about the cabin announcements as it sounds in iniBuilds. So with regards to the airport map, we are making some optimizations right now ahead of release. That's why we are using the charts to taxi around right now. So we did rework some things, make it better, and that'll be available day one on release. So don't have to worry about that. It will be.
I think we have showcased it before as well, right?
Yeah, we've showcased it on every update before this, even at Expo. So we're just working on it right now, and that'll be in for release as well.
Awesome.
Yep.
And Steve, the other part of the question.
Yeah, for the cabin announcements, I think it's something we're exploring. We just have to work with our sound partner and see if we can bring it to the aircraft. So
Perfect.
I'm obviously fielding all this feedback that I'm hearing, and we're going to take it and run with it.
Awesome.
Oh, I have a fun question. Can it handle time compression? Yeah. If you go in the EFP, we have a thing for
Yeah, it handles time compression really well. I was able to fly 4x down to actually like near touchdown on the approach before, so it's done really well.
Very handy for testing.
Yeah, very handy for testing. So we have up to max 4 times. We have posit TOD, IRS align times, whatever you guys already expect from other payware add-ons. So yeah.
As you can probably expect, we have that IRS align time set to instant, so we weren't waiting there for 7-8 minutes, just staring at the screens.
And weather radar. Lots of people like weather radar in the sim.
Right.
How
so
about
that's
that?
another one. So if you look on the map, Hirsch, if you scroll all the way out.
Like on the map?
Yeah, just go all the way.
Yep.
So the 220 has a 640 nautical mile range radar, right? And unlike other aircraft, it will overlay your weather radar information on top of your map. Which gets us back to the same issue of projection, right? Because we don't have the API to, fully get access to the weather. You do the contracts that Sobo has with like Meteor Blue and all of that. They don't want them stealing their data, right? So because of that, we can't really match up the map with the weather radar, and so we will not be having the weather radar in release.
Yeah, they'll be post-releasing. It also has to do with the way the map's projected.
Yeah, that's why I was saying
it moves like a 3D globe. Like it's not a 2D projection. So.
And it will you don't have to have either the map or the weather radar. I'll show you both things on top of each other. You can exactly know that this is my waypoint. This is where the weather is. This is the terrain, and pick your way through. That's
awesome. And another question that came through. Obviously, you went through some of the details with the circuit breakers and how the backup screens worked and everything like that as well. Failures. Will people be able to program some failures in that they'd like to go through and run through some of those checklists?
So how it's going to be on release is we're not going to have like failures as in like you can't go into the EFB and fail like an engine and watch a cascade. What you can do is obviously play around the plane yourself, pop your circuit breakers and engines, etc. And you'll see the non-normals for that pop up and the associated warnings. But we're not doing like failures that can be triggered as a scenario. No, that'll be like much after release.
Yep.
Awesome. And then as well, with this being a new aircraft, for lots of people who may not be familiar with the A220 in the past, I know there's a community member has actually made a guide, like a 300-page guide on the A220 that's already publicly available, I think. And if you're in any community spaces, you may have already seen it. But to introduce people to this aircraft, we've spoken about the deep dive video, but have you got plans for any tutorials, any, books that you were going to give, manuals or anything like that we're going to receive for people to get custom with this aircraft nice and quickly?
Right. I do want to shout out this one person in our community who has been making excellent guides for the Synaptic A220. Not through us, but it's his own standalone guide, which I encourage everybody to read. His name is A220 Driver. You can find him in the Synaptic Discord. The guides are pinned in our Discord as well, and they contain valuable information on all the quirks about the 220 and how to fly it, and all sorts of that stuff. As he is a real 220 pilot, and he's very accurate with the guides he makes. So we'll definitely recommend that. As for our own guides, we're going to be working on that closer release, and after release, they will probably be available on our website.
And we'll also have that deep dive video where we're going to go through exactly how do you set up the FMS, how do you fly the plane, all of that, right?
Great, perfect. That's brilliant. Yeah, I had a look at that guide myself in preparation for this live stream as well. So yeah, we'll make sure that it's available on the MSFS social spaces as well.
Yep.
But please go and make sure that you go and join the Synaptic Sim Discord and the iniBuilds Discord as well. Go and follow them on all the social media things as well, because there's so much coming your way. You guys should be really excited for this stuff. So we'll close out here for the evening. I know there's lots more questions, but I'll hand it back to each of our three guests today for any closing comments and everything, and then we'll finish up for the evening. So Steve, actually over to you.
Sure, yeah. I'm super excited to bring this. Thank you. I know I was following along with a number of chats, and there was a lot of hype and excitement. So we're excited to bring it to you. I know the looming question, when, the community's favorite question. Not long is what I can say.
There we go. Not long, folks. Okay, so
I didn't say soon. I said not long.
We didn't say soon. We didn't say soon. You didn't say soon. Well done, Steve. I'm proud of you. Not long is the official term. There you go, folks. Thank you, Steve. Harsh, over to you after that incredible butter landing.
Thank you. Yeah, the aircraft, it's been very anticipated by the community, and we're equally excited to release it to you guys. Not long, as Steve said.
Yep.
And yeah, we're excited about the reception we're seeing so far, and the aircraft's in a very good state. We as a team enjoy flying it on VATSIM, interacting with the community, and we hope to carry that sentiment on forward through release and after. So yeah, thank you guys so much.
Amazing. And Shay, finally to you.
Yeah, thank you for all the support. It'll be there, as Steve said.
It will be there.
It'll be there. Amazing,
Yes.
folks. Thank you all so much to our three guests today for joining us on the live stream. It's hugely appreciated that they've taken time out of their day to join us. So please, can you show your appreciation for our three guests? Also, Chris behind the scenes, who's been running our production today. Thanks to Chris for him, and everybody at Synaptic Sim and iniBuilds for working with us to be able to provide this showcase for you folks today. We know, just seeing how many incredible people there are in the community watching this live stream today, instead of watching the football in the background, that you folks are all very, very, very excited for this aircraft, and so you should be. Not long, the official wording is, to wait now. So we're going to close out the live stream here for this evening, but be on the lookout on social media, on MSFS Official, as well as Synaptic Sim and iniBuilds for that deep dive video, which will be coming your way not long. So we'll close out there for the evening. Thanks again so much for all of you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again on another stream here on the MSFS Official channel. But for now, that's it. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.